everyone, it's Sally with the Polka Dot Life. Have you heard the terms avid, casual, or beginning crafter or card maker, and you weren't really sure what somebody was talking about? Maybe they were describing a crafter in that way or a certain project that way. I think we forget that our customers and viewers may not totally understand what we are talking about. Today, we are going to be using some Sale-A-Bration paper to make each one of those types of cards. And just because they're pretty quick doesn't mean that they are boring at all. So let's turn the camera down and get started. Let's get started on our beginner level card. Now, beginner level just simply means that it's really kind of just like stamps, ink, and paper. It isn't meant to be a derogatory term in any way. It's just that it maybe is truly a beginning stamper. And so this is the way that we would want you to start out so you can be successful in your project and you don't get overwhelmed. But it also could just be your personal style, that you don't like a lot of stuff on your cards, that you just like a clean, simple line to your card. And there certainly is nothing wrong with that, and that's why I wanted to do this today. We are going to bring out our Night of Navy ink pad, and we have our sentiment. Now, all of the measurements will be on my blog because there will be quite a few of them today. And we are going to just simply ink up our congratulations in this Night of Navy. We're going to bring it over slightly, leaving a little bit of a gap there at the end on the right hand side. I'm just going to let that transfer. And how pretty is that? That's super cute. And I did get it a little low on that. It doesn't really bother me, but you could certainly flip this over and just simply restamp it on the other side. You could take your trimmer and trim a little bit off of that. Don't let your mistakes or your little tiny boo-boos or, oh, I didn't get it exactly like that person on the video, discourage you in any way. I am going to go ahead and close this Night of Navy ink pad because it will get everywhere if I don't. I know myself very well. I have a basic white cardstock, and we are going to be using the Paper Blooms paper set today. It is a Sale-A-Bration paper, and it is so pretty. And the colors, I love every sheet on it. That's just really great. And this is one of those things that designer series paper can stand on its own. It doesn't always need a lot to make it look good. It can just totally make your card. So that's why I wanted to use this today. So this would just simply be your layer. You could use either side. We're going to use this side today. Navy is one of my favorite colors overall and in our Stampin' Up line. I know a lot of people like black for their wardrobe, but it does not do me a lot of favors. I'm just a little too fair. It washes me out. And the navy has just enough color in it that kind of makes things a little bit better for me. But I always just like it anyway. And I think that sometimes we forget that navy is a neutral. And let's just pick this up and adjust this a little bit. Get things the way we want them. Remember, it is paper. And you know what? If you are starting out and you just don't get this totally straight, if it drives you crazy, you know what? Just sit it aside and get another piece. It's paper, and we want you to be successful. But don't necessarily throw it out. We can usually cut it apart and do something with it. So this little strip, we are just going to put a little bit of our green glue on there. And I'm going to use my grid paper today. And I am going to just line that up along the bottom. I'm going to bring this up maybe this is however you would like it. I kind of like it about that 2 square mark. And this is just a great way with this grid paper. It protects your surface. That comes in this color. It comes in a white. It's great. And I happen to like this one for filming because cameras don't really like white cardstock. And you know, this is just one of those cases. I love my snips, but the long blade scissors kind of works well to just flip that over and trim that off. Now look, you have a card and it's lovely. There's not one thing wrong with that. Anyone who gets this in the mail would be like, wow, they sent me a card. And wasn't that really nice? I think they made it. And I will go through and put greetings on the inside, but for the sake of time, I don't want to do that just right this moment. And just so you know, these greetings that we are using today are from the Happy Thoughts stamp set. And it's a wonderful set that was designed by Jackie Ballheis for her $1 Million Sales Award. And it has great outside and inside greetings. And that's one of the reasons where I really love it. But for the sake of time today, we are just going to work on the outsides. Next, let's get to work on what we would call a casual card. I have a scrap of Seaside Spray. And let's open that Night of Navy ink pad again. Let's bring in our Thinking of You stamp. And let's get that inked up. And let's just stamp it here in the corner. I love Seaside Spray. It's just such a, sometimes you look at it and it's purple, sometimes you look at it and it's blue. I guess it's just maybe what a lot of people would term as a nice periwinkle color. Plays nicely with a lot of things. And then I have, let's see, that's the 2 1/4 inch circle punch. And so when you add a punch, that is one thing, or a die, or just some other element other than just ink, paper, and stamps, then that is what terms this to be a casual crafter. So we're going to put that there. I am going to leave that open just because we're going to need it again. I'll just try my best to stay out of it. But I have a petal pink layer that we will put down. And again, we'll just center that up. And I could have built this a different way too, but I just decided to go for it this way. The layers that I'm using on today's card are what we kind of call our basic layers on the last card and this one. This is 5 1/4 by 4. And then this is just simply our next layer down. And so usually that 5 1/4 by 4, a lot of times, if someone's making a card, that's that first layer. And so we're just going to layer this on top. And again, then once you leave that first layer, then sometimes we use a 1/4 inch, sometimes we use an 1/8 inch border. It just kind of depends on the look we want to go to, and that is crooked. There we go. That's better. Okay, another thing that might make this termed a casual card is we are going to bring in our Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're simply going to put these on the back. I am going to pull these backings off with our Take Your Pick tool. And on this layer, we don't need to, you can add some liquid glue to the back of this if you want to, but we really don't have to on this layer because we're going on flat, regular, just cardstock. If it's embossed, that's a different story. So there we have our thinking of you. And you know, even if it is a little crooked like that, we can just lift this back up. I'm showing you all of the things not to do, but just don't get excited if you do, because they are fixable. Unless this is set here for a while, you have a little bit of room with these dimensionals. So that's much better. And I think something else that determines, or people would make this say that this is a casual card, would be that we maybe would add some embellishment. And these are Rococo Rose. And I think that they would be super cute on this card since it is flowery. Oh, let's see, where do we want to put these? Kind of like to put them by some flowers. It looks like they are getting ready just to take a little rest on one. Let's do, and I like to work in threes, and I like to work in a triangular shape. And I also kind of like to sometimes spread them out on my card. Sometimes I like them very close together, but other times I like them spread out and maybe with a function on that card. So again, this is a very basic card, but it doesn't look like it. And it would certainly bless someone if you sent it to them. I think that's what we always need to remember, is just send the card. You're going to make someone's day. I would be so happy if I pulled this out of my mailbox. Okay, when we are going to emboss, we don't sell this embossing buddy anymore. It's just a little pad that has like a powdery substance in it that's going to keep that embossing powder from sticking to your paper. Just even the oils on your hands, if you use lotion or anything like that, that might get stuck on that paper because that powder would be attracted to it then. If you don't have an embossing buddy, take a dryer sheet and just skim over your paper lightly with it, and that will do the same thing. Okay, I've been making cards and I already have a little mess going on here. Let's bring this Night of Navy back over here, and we're just, normally we would use Versamark, but that would just be clear, and then the powder would stick to it and you would get whatever color that powder was. So since we want to do a color and Stampin' Up, this will work with any of our inks, it would be great. And so I just want to make sure it's not messy, but kind of juicy on there. And I am going to put this on here. I'm going to just kind of move my, not going to rock that stamp, but just kind of run my finger along there. And then I'm going to take it pretty quickly over to here and dump some of this clear embossing powder on it. And I like to go over it more than one time, just in case something got hung and, you know, just didn't take in a certain area. I like that. Just double check there. I have my heat gun ready to go. I like to just take a look, or just not bumping that. I like to start with mine underneath and just heating it from the underside. That way that powder doesn't blow all over the place and end up with it where you don't want. But especially with the clear, look how wonderful that shows up. And then I will also then just bring it here and go over it on the front side to make sure that we've gotten everything nice and melted. but not too long. We don't want it to burn. So we're just going to push this aside for now because that needs to dry before we punch it, or we could have a little bit of an ooey gooey mess. We are starting today with our Seaside Spray card base. And sometimes this just means that you have accumulated more things down and you have more colors other than just the basic white for your card bases. It still would look great if you needed to use a basic white cardstock for something. But we're just doing more layers. We've acquired more toys to play with. And so that is where we get the term avid crafter. You like to use more things. It doesn't mean you're a professional or your cards are any better than anyone else's. It just is how we term it that way. I also wanted to show you the importance of bringing in a darker layer sometimes. Usually an early espresso, a basic black, the Night of Navy, Blackberry Bliss. So if we're going to do it like I have done my other cards, we would just do the monochromatic one. But I wanted to take this, it'll still have this white layer behind it, but let's switch out this Seaside Spray layer so that you can see the difference. See, it just pops that card base or that Night of Navy in here. It just makes that designer series paper just jump out at you a little bit more. So I think that that is what we are going to do today. You will notice also I took the time ahead of time to emboss this layer with our Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. Again, that's just adding something else in, a little more texture, a little more dimension. Those are all things that go in to making an Avid card. So let's kind of just start building this up. Stop here, I need to move a cord that's moved out of the way since we were doing some embossing. We are just going to take this, and especially with an embossed layer, you want to make sure that when you're using an adhesive, you use a little bit stronger of an adhesive when something has been embossed. It's just, with all the peaks and valleys, it helps things to stick down a little bit better. And these are tinier margins. These are 1/8 inch of a margins instead of maybe the 1/4 inch margins that you used when you started or you learned with. And it's so pretty. I just love this paper. It's so beautiful. Let's see. I'm not sure which way I want this to go. I think I want it to go that way. And you don't want your glue squirting out the sides at you, but you want to make sure you have a decent amount. Again, this is nothing any more complicated. It is just simply adding more layers to our project. This would be a great project to do with if you have children or grandchildren and they're learning their measurements and how to use their ruler. This would be a great card to learn how to read your ruler with. It's all just, it's just rectangles, so. Not sure what this is hanging up on on me here. And of course, you could use this card layout in any orientation, either vertical or horizontal. It would be great. Sorry, I have that little bit, that embossing powder, no matter how neat you are, it kind of gets everywhere. So now we have this layer, but we're not going to adhere it just yet. This is a pretty thread from our Flowers for Every Season ribbon pack. And I'm just going to use it off the spool. I'm going to probably take a little bit, maybe more than what I need to have. I don't like to do this with ribbons, but with threads, I like to just go ahead and tie it. And you know what? Let's adjust this. I think I want this to come. I was thinking I was maybe going to put it on that side, but I want the ribbon or the bow to be on this side. And there we go. And I have my ribbon snips, and I'm just going to snip that off the roll now. I'll leave that out here because we will be snipping the ends after we get everything in place. Let's bring in that same 2 1/4 inch punch, and let's just to kind of make sure you have about the same spacing in there. You definitely don't want to cut it off. I love that. And when we put this layer down, let's go ahead and put that up on dimensionals. And I am not going to put dimensionals too much in this space because I want to be able to adjust my thread as I need to. But that does make it, we know that it's not going to slide any further in that range. And I don't like saggy middles, so I have a thing against that. So again, we will take your pick tool off, and we are just going to remove our backings. Kind of depends on whether my nails are finished or no polish, whether I take your pick tool, or sometimes I just, if they're not done and they don't look very good, then I'll just go ahead and use my fingers. But generally when I have a lot of them, it takes a little more time. And again, we can put this one down. We don't need to put any glue on it because it is on a flat surface. If you would like to, so that you have a little more wiggle room, you certainly can do so. And I'm trying not to get those dimensionals down just yet until I try, at least attempt, to get things a little bit more evenly spaced. I don't like that. And like I say, if you haven't pushed down on them, you're generally pretty good. You can't keep doing that over and over again, but it's pretty good. There we go. And then, like I say, we can kind of move this a little bit based on where we kind of have our dimensionals, and it will kind of slide around too. I want to also put dimensionals. You can see I didn't like how that turned out the first time I tried it. So we always can use both sides of our cardstock. Now, with these dimensionals, I am going to put some liquid glue on them. I do want that, a little bit of that slideability just over our, you know what, I'm gonna pull this off. I wasn't thinking when I put that on there. When you're putting a dimensional on over some ribbon, keep that area clear because it just kind of doesn't lay right. Even though with that thread, it would probably be fine since it's not real thick. But again, with that being embossed under there, I just like to have a little bit extra. And I want to just slide that over a little bit further. Must have got caught. Must have caught one of my dimensionals, and so I just am untying this since it's not wanting to slide. I'm just going to untie it, and that's why I didn't cut my ends, so it gives you some options. Cards are fluid. They are a constant work in motion. Now we can put our layer on, and it will be all cute and happy. Again, we will bring in our butterflies, and let's use our Seaside spray this time and see what those look like. Here, we don't have a lot of embellishments in the Seaside spray, so I know these kind of blend in a little bit, but I still like them. You just kind of want to put them somewhere, maybe fit them inside one of these diamonds so they're not on that ridge. And we could have used the Rococo Rose again as well. Just put one right here. So we kind of have our triangle shape, and they're still in threes. Let's bring our other cards in to show you what we've worked on today. We have done the beginner, the casual, and the Avid crafter. So you can see it starts with just stamps, ink, and paper. Then we go and we add a punch and some embellishments. Then we add more layers. We add some embossing, we add some embellishments, some ribbon, just a few more things. Now I'm going to definitely go back, and we have our embossing as well. I'm going to go back and finish the insides of these cards, but for the sake of time, I am not going to do that today. I just wanted to show you too just some other colors that I had done off camera before we started. And I just really like them. I think that, like I say, I love navy, and so I think that with the navy and the white, this is probably my favorite card, just because I like the texture. I like different things about it. On this one, I took my embellishments. I like to work in odd numbers, so instead of 3, I used 5, and I put them on. First went along and figured out where I needed them on a flower. And then I just added the one extra one here on that sentiment. Remember that time is running out for Sale-A-Bration, and to pick up this Paper Blooms paper It is so pretty, even if you get 2 packs, because remember, it looks so sharp when you do your envelopes, your flaps to coordinate with your cards. It just really makes it. And I think that you'll be super happy if you make this choice for your $50 level award or gift. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.